To me, being an active learner means that you love the subject material and you gain a passion for it. And I think it's important for students to learn this early in their academic careers. Oftentimes, you'll get students that follow a certain route because of maybe family pressure or certain expectations for career. And I'm not saying that career shouldn't drive your experience in school, but I think you'll find that your output and your learning will be much greater if you follow subjects and teachers and majors that you enjoy. When you find that you gravitate towards certain subjects or maybe certain professors, I think it's healthy to follow those tendencies. I think when you do that, when you tend to follow classes and subject matter that interest you, in the long run, what happens is you become interested in the subject matter, and and then you find yourself being much more engaged in your learning. So I think learning to follow your passion and then maintaining that level of interest is key to your success in school. Becoming an active learner also means to participate not only in class but what you're doing after class. I know, especially in history, there's a lot of reading that goes along with the material that you're engaging with. So I think, of course, coming to class prepared is essential to being an active learner. When you come to class having read the material and that you've prepared beforehand, the class experience is so much more enjoyable. I think it's painful sometimes for students to sit through a class that they know they haven't prepared for, and the class time is it can be stressful, to be honest, when you're sitting there trying to pretend like you did your work when you know you didn't. So getting by then is not the class then becomes an issue of just kind of winging it. So coming to class prepared not only makes you more active in the discussions in class, but it makes the class so much more enjoyable. Then you can actually enjoy the experience of contributing in class. I also think becoming an active learner means that you are willing to question some of the material. And this is a sign of a student who's really prepared and has been involved with the material by thinking more than just the surface. When you're active in learning, you engage in analysis. And I think this is an important trait for our students to maintain. We live in a society where information is very quick and readily available. But unfortunately, what that translates to is a lot of surface learning. If you want to get all of your information off of Wikipedia or Google, that's fine. But in a classroom, you should be ready to engage with the material in a way that you are more thoughtful and are able to analyze material by comparing it with other things that you've learned, and primarily by being prepared with doing the readings and participating in that way. I think for some, being an active learner means stepping outside of your comfort zones. I know for some students, it's culturally inappropriate to challenge a professor or to even speak up in class. And I understand this concept, and I do appreciate the respect from students in that regard. However, I think sometimes being an active learner translates into being willing to ask questions, and even thought-provoking ones that may challenge another person. Of course, the challenge then is keeping it in a respectful manner, which I think is definitely possible. But still, nonetheless, being willing to raise your hand and politely say, I disagree with the author, or I think that maybe if we look at it in this perspective, this is how I see it. So an active learner is willing to open their perspective, and in turn, what it does when we're having that kind of a learning experience, students then begin learning from each other, and professors begin learning from students. So it's a process that when there's real active learning going on in a classroom, everyone's being fulfilled. I think also students who become active learners in their university experience, those successful at it are those that come to the table in the classroom setting, or um, in a class discussion, that they're able to contribute their perspective in the class. Now, I think a lot of students, unfortunately, don't realize that their perspective is immensely important to the learning experience. That, for example, I teach history classes, world history class, and I love it when we're talking about Mongolia, where Mongolian students will speak up and they'll say, "Hey, this is my experience with, this is how I feel about Genghis Khan," or "This is what the Mongolian conquest meant to us in our society." Or what for these are many. This is just one example, but there's been many of times in class where the quiet student from a country that maybe we've been studying finally says something in class about their perspective on the matter. And even though I'm supposedly the expert, I'm always just dumbfounded by the contribution that students can have toward the class. And don't be shy about that. I know that oftentimes, especially maybe if English isn't your first language, or if you're not from the United States, or you're not from Hawaii, you may feel a little intimidated, but don't. I always love contribution that students give in class by voicing their own perspective and their opinion, and often it's their cultural background, the differences that actually really liven up and give flavor to our class discussion. So this type of sharing of perspective creates a culture of active learning in a classroom, and it's contagious when students start to speak up and perspectives are shared. Then others start to open up as well. And so I really love in a classroom setting when students can contribute their points of view and their perspective to our discussions. In fact, that's what makes BYU Hawaii so special, right? We talk a lot of how this school is a diverse environment where students from all over the world come to learn in Laie and then go forth to serve throughout the world. But I think we're just sort of scratching the surface when it comes to incorporating that kind of diversity into the learning process in the classroom. And I think if students realize how important their contributions are to the learning experience of everyone in the room, then we will really start to see the true kind of engagement with learning on this campus. And that's what differentiates us from other campuses, from other universities. We have that blessing of having so many people from around the world, and it's an opportunity for us all to learn from each other in the classroom. So please speak up, contribute to class, come to class prepared with your reading, and I think we will see so much um, so much active learning in our school that I think it'll be even more healthy if we can do more of that.